I do what everybody hates in society. It's a hard introduction, actually, because it's the one where people say, hey, what do you do for a living? And I say, what I do. And then they say, wow, why? I represent people who are accused of crimes. So I come in right after the crime comes in, obviously. I'm an attorney. Yeah. I defend them in court, having a conversation just like this. No mics, just us. Somebody has to say, wait a second, is this person ready to be thrown away yet? Oh, everyone has a right to a fair trial. Everyone has a right to be defended. You can play the Constitution game, and it's empowered into us by God or the government. Yeah. Okay, sure. And to answer the question that some people have, how do you represent somebody who's guilty? You don't always know that they're guilty, and they're not always guilty. That's for one. They're not always guilty. But even if they are, I may not even know that. Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's none of my business. I think most lawyers became lawyers because there was something that they fought about when they were younger. Something bothered them, and they felt like they wanted to go figure it out. Most of us, I mean, probably everybody has had some situation where they feel like they were wronged.
So you're defending the shooter. What happens?
I'm not. Look at you,
bro.
Look at you.
Hot take.
Well, now we're talking about it in a hypothetical sense.
Should we ask AI to be the shooter?
Sure. No.
Ooh, that's kind of dark, huh?
I don't know about dark. I mean, I think you got the FBI wondering why you're asking the AI to be a shooter. I'm trying to keep it as general as possible. This isn't a specific client or anything. What do you do when you have a client who's a little hostile? Well, maybe a little bit. Yeah. Okay. I think we understand what I'm saying. I treat it like it's anybody else. You took a swipe at the former president. Yeah. I introduce myself, have a conversation, how everything's going, then just start to go into the, what he has a right to know. He has a right to know what the charges are against him. At the end of the day, I'm a glorified waiter. Right. I'm here to tell you what the specials are. And the specials are that you've been accused of attempting to kill the former president of the United States and killing one other individual who was in the audience, and I think another person was injured. Right. So those are the charges against you. You have a right to know that, and he does. And he has a right to know that from somebody who's completely unbiased, to let him know these are the things that you're looking at. This is what you're facing. This is what they actually have to prove. This is what you can do to make a decision on certain things, and certain things you can't make a decision on. I have to make a decision. Because the first thing they want to know is, when am I getting out? Right.
With immigration law, I know you defend a lot of that, right?
Usually in the criminal side. Okay. So there's two major areas of law. There's the area where people are trying to petition to either get status here or up their status from residency to citizenship. Those are all proactive things where you're trying to ask for permission to do certain things. And there's a whole other area of law, which is what I deal more with, which is
something happened and they are
post-conviction. Something bad has now happened.
Okay.
You've been accused of a crime that the immigration...
Or you get pulled over.
Right. And or there's a warrant or convictions that are in the past that are now coming up. Most of the gang units here have just tattoos everywhere. Having the tattoo isn't the problem. When a client gets a tattoo, it's not getting the tattoo, it's what it says. That's the biggest problem.
I feel like that's where the idea of your profile means everything. First impression. And if you're wearing something, that then becomes part of your profile. Like if you get a face tattoo, that's now, go get your ID updated then.
You're right. You didn't have that before.
Welcome to the podcast, sir.
Thank you, sir. I feel like I'm in the Wonderland shop. Yeah. There's a lot to do and see here.
Yeah. I should have filmed your reaction when you walked in. I didn't think you were going to...
Was it that bad?
No, well, in my mind, you've already been here, so...
I've been here, but I haven't been here.
Okay, yeah.
So now I
revamped it.
There's a revamping, and there's maybe 86% of your brain is out here right now.
Yeah. You walk into my mind.
Yeah.
My interest and my inspiration. And
is any of it anger?
People were fighting with anger. If it was gladiators, if it was the Rome politics.
The Rome politics?
The Roman politics of ancient Greece, ancient Rome. You know the stories of, before we introduce who you are, like back in the day, imagine, so the judgment system back then, they throw you in a coliseum and figure it out. Or our leaders, if you want to fight if you want to be the next leader, prove yourself, see what you're made out of.
Physically.
Right.
Okay.
In a circle of your tribe, which is like, let's imagine the U.S. and our leaders going into this war pit.
So we're just picking actual reach and weight and
like straight
statistics
and Coliseum.
Okay.
And that's how it was versus now. Now you got other people getting their hands dirty.
Well, you want to go further back. I mean, how did the cavemen, how did they figure it out?
I think, we weren't supposed to throw a punch.
We weren't?
We weren't. Our body mechanics we weren't meant to
come at each other physically.
Strike, right. That I feel like they learned that through understanding. If I do this, if I thrust, it's like the survival. It's like you're going to fend off an animal or fend off your opponent, an adversary. You learn to fight. You learn to cause the death. But our bodies, we're a sack of meat and bones. If we didn't ever engage in combat, any kind of combat, how it is now, we don't even have to throw a punch. People press a button or pull a trigger. And
why is it that way?
Well, you know, back then they might have got rocks, sticks, and then they figured out catapult.
Just kind of advanced to that point now.
Right.
Where we have remote controls to just everything.
I feel like where we are right now, it wasn't supposed to be this way.
No?
No.
Oh, I think this is exactly where we're supposed to be.
You think so?
This is the actual natural projection of where we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
If you keep looking and looking and looking, you're going to keep finding. And what we keep finding is easier ways to do things,
Yeah.
and kicking the human out of it completely.
Literally.
Like, I wake up in the morning sometimes and think, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Because everything seems to be automatic.
Yeah.
So how do I even learn how to do anything if everything is being done for me?
Yeah.
At some point, how are we ever going to make the things that make the things for us if we don't even know how to make things?
Right. We're detaching. We're losing that.
Right. Like, our parents still remember how to make things.
Right.
I kind of remember how to make things. My kids are like, I just go on YouTube.
Yeah. I like to think power goes out here, and it's happened a few times. I'm tattooing. Imagine how crazy it would be if I'm tattooing you and it's thunder, lightning outside. This is your first time in here, and the power goes out.
And you're getting all shaky.
And I'm tattooing you. What's your instant thought or reaction?
Looking at you. Have you done this before? Are you inspired?
My machines run off of battery. And my lights are all self-powered, and I have USB, like I have like power banks and things like that backup. So I have a backup. I don't need electricity.
Okay.
And I have a Bluetooth speaker for some jams.
So we're talking about like the old school tattooing?
Old school, we'd be
How did they tattoo in the West?
I think back in the day, if that happened, for sure, it'd be like, well, we're gonna have to wait until the power comes on. I literally can't do
power. They probably got like an eel or a squid.
Oh no, yeah. Back in the day, it was
get
like
the ink out with a rock.
Yeah, they would sharpen bones, animal bones or stone, and it was like a blade. And then
you don't need power.
They figured out how to make pigments. Get the ashes, and then they would make an ink from that, or they can get a grind stone. So you're getting like, have you ever seen that style when they do the tap?
When they tap it in?
When they tap,
oh, yeah.
They have a guy.
Like an old sewing machine.
It looks like it, right? So the monk OG, like, guy that's going to do it, he's just hovering over it. It's like a blade now. Well, now they have actual needles for it. The manufacturers actually make supplies for people that do that. But back then, they would get like a rod of some sort, like some holy palo, you know what I mean? And then they would tie it, and then they would start. One guy's tapping.
What are they doing? Are they
Don't move.
Are they like having a conversation? Like, hey, did you see what Greg did the other day?
Yeah, right. It's a very rite of passage. It's a very monk.
Would you do it?
I would do it.
So then maybe one day the power's out. You turn to somebody.
It's like, hey,
you pull that out. And you're like, hey, want to go?
Stick and poke.
Let's go.
Start going. You know how long that would take though?
Wait, the power's out. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Light a candle. Tell a story.
Watch the front. It's like, dude, make sure no predator comes and eats us. So, introduction, Alex. Sir Alex Martin.
I don't know about Sir.
The real life Matt Murdock.
Wow.
Bruce Wayne. You're a fan of Daredevil?
What's a vigilante? Daredevil, yeah.
Daredevil's cool, dude.
No.
Tell us what you do. Introduce yourself.
I do what everybody hates in society. It's a hard introduction, actually, because it's the one where people say, hey, what do you do for a living? And I say what I do, and then they say, wow, why? Not, oh, it's cool, or it's great, or, well, it's boring, it's why. So then I have to think to myself, well, I don't know. I don't know why. I represent people who are accused of crimes. So I come in right after the crime comes in, obviously. I'm an attorney.
Yeah.
I defend them in court, defend them having a conversation just like this. No mics, just us. But why? I don't know.
You're right. If I mention that to somebody, or I hear somebody's just past their bar, or they're getting into that realm of defense attorney, or getting into the criminal justice or the system, right, if you will, the reaction is just like you mentioned. They say, give you that whole, like,
how can you do it if you know they're guilty?
That's hard, huh?
I don't understand that question. And I know I'm wrong to not understand the question. So I've been trying to understand it by trying to think to myself, why does that question get asked?
Yeah.
Because I'm not only can I not answer that question, I have no idea how to answer that question. I don't even know the origin of that question because I don't understand how we can't understand why. Somebody has to say, wait a second, is this person ready to be thrown away yet? And why? So, I try to tell it that way, but then it sounds too honorable. You can't have any honor in that. So, well, then how else to describe it? I guess the easy way to say is, well, everyone has a right to a fair trial. Everyone has a right to be defended. You can play the Constitution game, and it's empowered into us by God or the government.
Yeah.
Okay, sure, but then why do it? Because we can have that profession there, and we can have a slot where we all believe that somebody should defend somebody accused of a crime, no matter how heinous the crime. But then what do we do? Do we actually want people to fill that spot? Because when someone fills it, it's almost, well, why? Well, why'd you fill it? Well, why is there a spot? If society has made a spot, why do we ask, why is it filled? I think we should ask, why is there a spot?
If you know someone's guilty or someone's done it, right?
That's not always the case, but that's the extreme question that everyone goes to.
They'll ask you that. It's like, well, how do you defend somebody if they are, openly admit, well, look, how can you get me out? Because now it's like somebody's seeking out that refuge, that whole
refuge. Yeah.
That's some sort of. Is there a? They could also target you as a scapegoat. Have you ever felt that way? Have somebody
absolutely
like you're just kind of be thrown into the fire, or like set you up in a sense, or be like, dude, what's up with the switch up, or what's up with the? Funny, some people won't be 100% honest to a lot of people. Well, when it comes to somebody defending you, you're basically that voice for a person, like translator. You're the filter for this person that they can just as well try to represent themselves or get a public attorney.
There has to be a buffer between the person accused of a crime and the government accusing that person of a crime.
Yeah.
There has to be someone to be in the middle to say, we got it. We understand that you're saying that John has done this bad thing. We get it. Let me go talk to John. Forget about the lawyer thing. Take the suit away. There's no tie. There's no courtroom. Just a government that said John has done something wrong. Hey, Alex, go talk to him. Got it. I'll go talk to him. So I go talk to John, and John says, this is what I've done. And he basically explains to me everything that the government says he's done. Well, that's basically the scenario. How do you defend somebody who's guilty? It's not my job to let this government know that John is guilty. It's my job to make sure that John is defended so correctly that if found guilty, and everybody believes he's done this, we don't have to wonder if it was done incorrectly, wrongfully, or unjustly. We can all just move on. The way I feel, if you start to attack that buffer, you start to attack that criminal defense attorney, why? It's fine to wonder why, but to then believe that maybe we shouldn't have, well, then you're basically attacking the one buffer that is between the government and the people. How far or how many accusations can the government bring against the people if there is no buffer? If there's nobody at least at the gate saying, okay, I'll listen about John's situation, and we'll listen about Mary's situation, and so on and so forth. And then you get to an Oliver or a John or a Maria or Jose, and you say, hey, I don't think Jose's situation is the way you guys said it. Well, how do you know? Well, I've talked to him. And he in confidence has spoken to me because he believes that he in confidence can speak to me. So because he believes he can in confidence speak to me, he will tell me things that are bad, and he will tell me things that are good. And he may not tell these things to the government because he may not want to say some of the bad. But I can at least bring some of that out and say, hey, I'm seeing a different side. Well, we disagree with you. That's fine. Let's take it to the people. And that's what a jury trial is. And that's in essence what I do. I do jury trials.
You're big on defending a person's right. Like
I'm big on us having rights. Right. I'm big on we have to have rights, and in order to have them, we have to exercise them. It's such a cliche thing.
Yeah. But
your 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendment rights all deal with your right to be defended, your right to not have the government interfere in your life, not to be searched, to have a fair trial, to have fair representation, somebody actually on your side. That is a right we have. Yeah. So somebody has to be the buffer to say, I'm going to defend the rights, and I'm going to be completely biased towards my client, within my ethical bounds, towards my client, because it's not my job to say, oh, we got one. John, he's guilty. Send him away. Because that creates an environment of nobody ever trusted me again, because you can give me John, and I gave John's story away. Mary's not going to trust me, and neither is Oliver. I'll never learn again. So I have to keep the secrets.
Yeah.
And I have to have people say, why? Well, how about why not? You answer me why not. Why shouldn't there be somebody defending? You can come at it from any way. I don't know which way you go with this show, but you can come at it from a religious way. You can come at it from a Christian way. You can say, well, Jesus Christ put the line down in the sand and said, hey, those who haven't sinned may cast the first stone. That was a defender. That's something that's accepted by the masses, by Christianity. There's other religions with similar stories and similar ideas. Right. It's just not accepted when you put that suit and tie on. Now you've become that scummy guy that you see on Dateline or you know, I love those shows though. You know that with the dun 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 dun. Yeah, Law and Order. Yeah, great shows. But you see the criminal, you see the prosecutor trying to find justice. You see the officers trying to investigate a situation. You see the defendant just smiling, smirking, and saying, "You're never going to catch me." And then you see that defense attorney just slouch down, just like, "Ha, you don't have enough evidence against my client." It's funny, and it's a good image, but it's not the real image. Right. That's not really how it works. Right. Sorry, I've really just gone on.
No, that's good. That's a good.
Bring me back.
That's good, because I want to say you're kind of carrying a stereotype and a stigma that's been created from those shows a lot of times, or almost like telephone with a person that had a bad situation or a bad attorney or a bad experience, right? Oh, yeah. And they're going to tell the next guy, and so then our society, or the people of today, you hear these big names on trial, and you see, and everyone's so opinionated. They'll say, "Oh, he's obviously guilty. It's that attorney," or "He's obviously innocent," or "That's so unfair. It's got to be the system," or the system's broken, or there's loopholes in the system. You hear all these things, right? Kind of things that have been created from, the influence that people are consuming. Same thing with like tattoo TV shows. And they come in here and I'm like, "Oh, did you want to see drama? Hold on. Let me start. Let me
fighting with the guy in the back.
Let me go stir the pot.
Tito, bring the ink.
Yeah.
Where's the gun?
Oh, yeah. Or you want to see some, they want to see that. When I first started this, I brought the idea of doing a live tattoo thing, which would be cool. But then I don't think I'll be at 100% to do this, because I'm actually focused on what I'm doing. Right. So unless I have a cue card to be like, okay, let's try this next question, and then it won't be authentic, because then it's like I need somebody else to maybe do the interview if that's the case.
You're splitting yourself up.
I get it though. Some people mention you should do a live interview while you're tattooing them. It's like, because you want to see the pain, you want to see the drama, you want to see the
live interview. But there is some. That's almost like. If I may, give an opinion.
Go ahead. You're one to give opinion.
No, I shouldn't give too many opinions. That would be like live streaming a attorney-client conversation that I'm having. It would probably be interesting to hear what we're talking about, but that might be dangerous. That's dangerous. Yeah, that's so invasive. I'm pretty sure you hear stories that are similar to what I hear about.
We get dumped on.
What not dumped on? You get somebody who's like, "Hey, this is the reason."
You did what?
Yeah. Well, okay.
Or why do you want this tattoo?
That's nice as you curve it out.
Right. I'm like, you like football?
Interesting. What was your uncle's name? So you start cutting along right there with it. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
I wish I could start doing something while I'm hearing the story. I guess that would be nice, because now I have to respond to what they're actually saying. There's where we kind of break off a little bit.
But I think the people, they want to see that. I want to see a client's face when it hurts, or I want to see them pass out, or I want to, the drama.
I want to know what really happened is what I always hear. I want to know what actually happened. Even in a jury trial where a jury will say not guilty. Mm-hmm. They don't believe that there was enough evidence proven. Number one question, but did he do it? Mm-hmm. They really still want to know. It's not really.
Then what happened? Then what's the reality, right? That's the thing that they
want reality. Does it connect with My dad used to always tell me it was interesting how on TV people would say, oh, somebody was found not guilty or somebody was found guilty. And he would say, well, I guess that means they did it. And I'd say, well, you think so? And he's like, well, that's what the people said. And I said, well, how do you know? He'd say, well, it's just, if they all thought it, that's good. And he'd say, well, sometimes I like when it's not guilty.
Yeah.
He didn't even know what the facts were. It was just some random case that was on TV, maybe some popular people. Right. He would say, I like it when it's not guilty. Because that means that maybe they didn't do it and they can just go on with their life. But there was always that, well, then who did do it?
Right.
And I think that's what society is coming to. Well, yeah, but who did? And we need to know who did it. Yeah. Was it your guy? Did he do it?
And only you know, right? The only that...
If I do.
If it was
if
a
I do,
client,
I may not even know.
If it was a client confidentiality agreement, right?
It's always the agreement.
So the other party, their attorney would know. What would then happen? Unless he decides to paint a different picture and not be 100% on it, because then that's on the person himself, right? Because I'm sure you
to tell me,
to tell you.
Oh, I had a professor in law school that I really never understood what he said when he said it, and it took me a long time to finally understand it. He said, "Believe what a client says to you, but don't believe a word of it." Mm-hmm. So you should always go in with respect and really hear someone's story. It's no judgment. I have demons myself. There's no reason to feel that. I'm sure you feel that in your establishment too. Hey, I've heard worse.
Neutral.
Right? No problems. I got it. No problems.
Open ears. Yeah.
Right. So just to hear that is fine, But some of it just becomes too much.
Yeah. Imagine somebody saying before they come see you, or before they come to see who they choose to go with, like whatever law office, right? And they're trying to, if I should really tell them what really went on. I know this isn't noble. This wasn't this common sense for me not to tell the truth because I don't want nothing held against me, or I'm really trying to bury this skeleton or whatever the case. And then,
what do you tell your doctor?
Yeah, but if
a certain part of your body hurts, maybe an intimate part of your body, and that's the reason why you don't want to talk about it. Right. But for the most part, if your foot hurts, you say, the doctor said, where's it hurt? Well, it hurts right here, right on my foot. So the doctor can come and diagnose it, right? But if you don't tell the doctor it hurts in an intimate area, genitals, you're never going to figure that out. And how could you go so long if you see the doctor and nobody found it? Because that's not something that you will want to show, maybe. A lot of people have no problem with it. Mm-hmm. But it's very similar with an attorney and a client. Right. Because the client may find that there's certain stories or information that they do not want to provide. It's that intimate part of their body. Right. It's that intimate story that they say, I don't want to tell that part of the story. It, however, unfortunately, may be the part of the story that their attorney needs to know.
It's key to
defending. And down the road, that happens often, where now you're, wow, this is, okay, now I understand what happened. And now I understand why you haven't disclosed this fully. Mm-hmm. And now I have to find a way to be that buffer. Right. To now explain this to the government within these rules. Because I can't just say, I figured it out. This is what happened with Deborah. Deborah, X, Y, and Z, let me just tell you what happened with Deborah. Yeah. I can't pick and choose. And I'm not an advocate in that way. I can't be a witness. I can only advocate for her. But she has to say it. She has a right not to say it as well. And there may be really good reasons for somebody not to speak. And you'll never know about it. Right. And that's another thing that really becomes a problem.
You're not going to say these key things. You don't think it's going to get touched, or you don't think it, but then let's say some stuff surfaces and doesn't check out. And then you're like...
Now you're confronting your own client.
Right.
Trying to figure out...
Oh, this doesn't check out.
This doesn't check out. And it can become a relationship that could get a little harmed because the trust is now gone. Yeah. So I got to just keep an open mind as the story becomes fluid, and to answer the question that some people have, how do you know, how do you represent somebody who's guilty? You don't always know that they're guilty, and they're not always guilty. That's for one. They're not always guilty, but even if they are, I may not even know that. Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's none of my business. It's absolutely none of my business. It's in fact part of my job title, part of my job description, for it to be none of my business. Huh. Otherwise. If I did it otherwise, if I made it my business and started sharing with you, well, John said this and this and that, that's when I've now not done my job.
Right. Yeah.
And then there's a problem.
Industry inks have been around for a while, and recently they expanded their pigment range. Everything from your primary colors, opaque grays, brand new anime skin tone, bright neon fluorescent tones, gray wash set, and black lining ink. If you haven't yet tried out this high quality pigment, head on over to industryinks.com, and with your order you can take advantage of a special promo code using OUTLOUD for an exclusive discount. Try out their new range for yourself, and thanks again for the partnered sponsorship. What got you into this? This is what I want to be, this is what I want to do. Was it something that sparked or something that said to you, well, this isn't right, I want to do something to prevent things like this happening?
I think being a lawyer,
I would be motivated to do this if something happened close to home where you're like, I saw how this turned out, and I know, because that's a lot of commitment.
I think most lawyers became lawyers because there was something that they fought about when they were younger. Something bothered them, and they felt like they wanted to go figure it out. Most of us, I mean, probably everybody has had some situation where they feel like they were wronged. Whether they were actually wronged or not, that's the feeling that you have. And you start to try to figure out, well, how do I unwrong this? How do I make this better for me? Well, then you start to figure out there's all these rules that society has, laws and ordinances and codes. And then you start to try to investigate and look a little further. And everyone has that one moment where they, there was a neighbor dispute and somehow it was in their favor, or whatever dispute that they've ever had. And they had that feeling that they wanted to actually advocate for someone else now. Yeah. Because now they went through the steps and the journey of having to fight to say, hey, I'm going to be heard. Whether they were correct or not, I want to be heard because I believe I need to be heard. And they want to pass that on to someone else. Most lawyers I know have had many things like that happen at a younger age, and made them want to say, at the end of the day, there is no lawyer if there is no client. You cannot be a lawyer without a client. If we take all the clients away, we're just a bunch of lawyers, and that's just boring.
Yeah.
You have to have someone attached to you. In essence, you're fighting for someone's issue. There's always a dispute. There's never a case where you say, oh, look, there's XYZ case because it's so amazing. It's discussing these great things, and we're all doing these great things for a great cause. No, it's a dispute. And a lot of times it doesn't end well because it has to be fought through, and there's going to be some scars and wounds and hits as you do that.
Yeah. Educate me about your
education. I went to Wilson School.
Okay, that's where you got your attorney license.
I went to my attorney license at Wilson
You're a
Elementary.
Wilson School Bulldog.
On Fowler Avenue. That's F-A-L-L-E-R.
They're taking sign-ups for summer.
Sign-ups for summer.
Fall, I should say.
I enrolled in 1984.
There you go.
Elementary. I rode that.
I rode it out.
I rode the academy through the monkey bars. I learned how to play with other kids. I didn't. Actually, that was my problem. I needed to learn how to play with other kids.
Oh, you were kind of secluded.
I was that little secluded Poindexter just on the round. Like, what's wrong with Alex? He seems to kind of have things together, but he's just out thinking about the stars too much.
That's funny.
So that's pretty much.
That's how you got your.
That's how I got most of my training. Have you ever been there?
Yeah, it's great, dude.
Have you been?
That's where I learned to tattoo.
Is that where you learned to tattoo?
No, I learned over here at. I learned at Wham's.
Wham's.
I was in the boys' bathroom.
The boys' bathroom.
And I found a tattoo machine, man. I had some ink.
You found a tattue machine in the boys' restaurant?
It was there. It looked clean. And
this is a true story.
No, I'm kidding, dude.
Okay, like a horrible 1980s script. Where you just walk in and there's like light shining on the tattoo gun.
Just holding it.
This is what I was destined
Next day I walks in.
This is it.
Strong arming in the tattoo.
This plot doesn't make any sense.
No, I think I was just curious what school and how long you did that, and what really made you just, I guess, stick it out.
I just want to shoot
you have to be,
a shout
you
out.
Have to be
I had to give a shout out to the Wilson Bulldogs. I just had to give a shout out.
That was a good shout out.
I'm just saying. No, the original question though was what really got me into wanting to be a lawyer, and it honestly started in something that had nothing to do with the law, and it really had to do with my dad.
Okay.
Because my dad, as you know him growing up. Right. He didn't speak English much at all growing up. He does now, but when I was a kid, he didn't. We would go places. He was obviously the adult. I'm a child, 5, 6, 7 years old.
Sure.
And he makes the decisions of how we get there. I don't know how to get there. I don't get in the car. I don't know where we're going. I don't know what company we're going to. I don't know what buying means.
Yeah.
I'm barely learning sales and transactions. But what I did know is how people would treat him. because he didn't speak English. And it became just a constant negative feeling. It was this constant, it was always going to be a problem because he is the problem. He is the problem because he has a malfunction. And some people were very nice about it. Some people were not. Yeah. And many people were assholes about it. And I could pick up on it because I spoke English. I also spoke Spanish. And I couldn't figure out if my dad understood that they were making fun of him sometimes or he didn't. But either way, he never responded. And that pissed me off even more. Because then I felt like, now you're bringing my dad down. So now it's me and my dad. And everybody loves their dad. And their dad is their hero. But now their dad, me, is not as cool as you because he's not communicating. You know, maybe he's a Jedi and he's going to a whole other world, right? Yeah, I mean, he just doesn't speak your language. But he's not a moron. He's not stupid. So what ended up happening was I had to, as most people do, interpret for him. Yeah. So I'm picking up the, how to be an interpreter at 5, 6, 7, first, second, third grade. So I'm getting my education at Wilson School because I'm having to now advocate. I'm having to now speak up for my dad. And I'm not just translating the words because, me and my little brain, I'm going, hey, hold on a second, that's not what you said earlier. And now I'm coming at that person probably from a young perspective. And I did get a lot of A's. Hold on, kids, sit down. I'm thinking, hold on, I'm the only one speaking English here. Right. I heard what you said. Don't play my dad that way. And a lot of my anger and fight came from that. So later on, when my dad gave me the choice of go pick in the fields or go to school, I said, I'm going to go take off to go to the business school. I took off down south. I went to UC Riverside.
That's where you went. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't know anything.
I started at community college, though. Okay. I went to, actually, I dropped out of community college.
Nice.
I started off at Reedley College. Okay. Went to Fresno City, Clovis Center. Took some classes at Sanger High when it was like you could take a class here and there. Oh, yeah. I took a class at the Manchester Mall. I was spread everywhere, like 12 classes here and there. I was taking like 25, 28, 30 units. I wanted to get stuff done, and I burnt out. I was doing it young. I was 16 when I went to college, but I went straight to just community college. I just wanted to get that out of the way, and I burnt myself out. And I said, I'm done with this. And my 17-year-old, I'm dropping out, and I did. And I went. My dad at the time was, he came up from picking in the fields to now he was getting some land, and he was actually starting to pick some of his stuff up. And he would rent lands that people didn't want to harvest anymore, and he would get a couple of Mexicans, a couple of us, and gather these guys from the cantinas that are all, hung over on a Saturday morning. Hey, man, come here, get a little cuadrilla together. Yeah. All of a sudden, he's got like 12 guys, and they're picking some place that he rented out, and he says, hey, come pick, come run the tractor like I've been doing since we were little kids, or haul some fruit. I mean, actually, it was like I'll haul some fruit. So I'm hauling fruit from Sanger to Reedley, going to Ballantine Produce, and I'm hauling in this little old Ford, 1989 Ford pickup with 4 bins in the back. Thing wobbles after like 42 miles an hour. Yeah. Heading over there. I'm just listening to the radio, people talking about how they're doing this and how they're doing that. And I'm like, all right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a farmer. This is what I want to do. But I had to go pass over there by the community college. And I see everybody signing up. And they're in their backpacks, and they're doing this. And I'm hot, and I'm sweaty, and I'm just like, what am I doing? Yeah. What am I doing? And I went back, and I said, hey, Dad, I think I'm going to go back to school. He goes, right now? And I go, nah, like this week. And he goes, oh, porque todavía tenemos trailers. And I was like, no, I'm going to still got work to do. No. We'll finish the harvest of this week. But like, I think I'm going to go back next semester. He goes, oh, it's buena idea. And I was like, all right, cool. All right. So yeah, let's just finish this up. And he goes, all right, cool. So then I started taking a bunch of classes. Yeah. And I always used my dad as a barometer because he had no idea. My dad is the smartest guy I've ever met in my life. But he doesn't know what college and schooling really is. He grew up out in the mountains in the Jalisco, Los Altos. So he got his schooling, like he would always say, como burros nos pegaban, and we'd kind of learn here and there. And he just, I kind of understand this and that, but he's like, están gastando su tiempo. Come over here and work and do this other stuff. Schooling was just kind of a weird thing. But he's like, you know what? You seem to like it. You seem to kind of figure through it. Right. So I started getting my units in because now I had to impress my dad and kind of like, hey, no, this is what I'm trying to do. Got my stuff together, went down south. I wasn't thinking about being a lawyer at that time, though. Right. So I graduated, and I was all happy, and I got my diploma, and I said, I made it. Yeah. Give me a job. And then everyone looked at me and said, who the hell are you? Where have you been? That's why I worked at McDonald's before. Like, I worked in the fields all my life, but that is not really. Where's the receipt? Where's the receipt for that? I mean, peach fuzz all over me.
Check out my farmer tag.
All right, fine. Like, you want W-2s? Fine. Like, I worked at McDonald's. I worked at Kmart. I worked at, it used to be Clovis Lakes, Wild Water. What do they care? Well, I got a 4-year degree. Sweet do we care?
Yeah.
I went to go sell cars at Anaheim Chevrolet. And my finance manager pissed me off for like 2 or 3 months. I said, you know what? I picked up a brochure from this desk that I had that I just went over there to the finance manager. He screwed me out of a commission. It's conversation for another day.
Yeah, yeah.
But I grabbed that brochure and I looked at it and I'm like, San Joaquin College of Law. What the hell is this? I thought it was a dental school. I thought it was a trade school.
Yeah.
You hear San Joaquin Valley College? It's a dental school.
Right.
They do all these other things, right? So I thought it was that school. And I'm like, what is this? I'd seen it on like, and the internet was barely coming up at that time. It was in 2003.
AOL.
2003.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like a Yahoo mailer
Ask
or
Jeeves
something, right? I'm like,
like
send me a brochure. Sure, I'll check this
Yeah.
out. And I looked at it and I'm like, all right, cool. What school is this? Like, where is this?
Yeah.
It's Clovis, right there, downtown Clovis. No, it's private school. It's taught by judges and lawyers and that have just learned the trade. Like, imagine a tattoo trade.
Yeah.
And it would just be the San Joaquin Tattoo Trade College,
Right.
And the masters teach the new Padawans and over and over and over again. So just went there and best decision ever. Best decision ever. There was, I think, a class of about 120 you start with. That gets whittled down to about 40.
Wow.
So your second year of law school. And then of those 40, maybe 12 actually pass the bar.
Wow.
And they tell you this from the very beginning. They say, look to your left, look to your right. In most schools, one of these people are not going to make it. They say, here, look to your left, look to your right. Only one of you are going to make it. Because we accept everybody who's got a job, who's
Navy SEALs, huh?
right? No way, but we're going to work you through it,
Yeah.
and we're going to kick you out if you're not up to the bar.
Yeah. No
Shoot.
pun intended, huh? Raise that bar.
But you know what was beneath me?
What was that?
The field.
Yeah.
If I fell, I had to go back to the fields.
That was that was kind of like that easy, get back to that old grind. That was kind of your fallback, right? That's all you knew in a sense. Because
While you're doing the vegetables, you got to just put your head down,
right.
keep picking.
Yeah.
You just keep picking, and then you look up, and you're like, damn, the edge of that row is so far. Jesus Christ. You just put your head down again. I pick my head up, and my dad would be like, pon la cabeza para abajo. Because I'm looking up, he's like, el surco está tan grande. Es que estás mirando cada 10 segundos, and he's yelling at me. And he's like, I have 2 rows, you got 1.
I'm pretty sure our dads taught each other English.
Probably.
Yeah, and they probably had Inglés sin barreras or
Inglés
something
sin
like that. You
barreras.
remember that?
No, my dad went to like this night school. He was all proud.
Yeah.
He was all proud. He goes, I'm going to get like a diploma just like you guys. And he went to this night school. And they taught him English. And he'd sit there and he'd get his question. He'd go home. My mom would correct him and stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah, he was all excited about it.
A little bit of background. So we were neighbors. Alex
our parents
and I,
are still neighbors.
Yeah, our parents are still neighbors. But Alex and I, we grew up together. So I knew you. And I graduated with your sister, and your older brother was always there. So if I went to go hang out, it was just kind of like the hangout thing, like your sister would come over and she would have obviously like Barbies over, and I'm just like, that's lame. Check out these Star Wars toys. You know what I mean?
She lived with 2 brothers.
Yeah, and I think just because we were the same age, we were just like on bikes, rollerblading, and then
You would always come over when I was playing basketball.
that, and also like if you had some sort of sport thing, like a video game or the game.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that? And then
Whoever got that new Nintendo
I remember Renee was like in his own world. So if I ever wanted to, say hi or hang out with him, I would just be like, oh, I'm hanging out with Alex. And we'd go to Wilson, play basketball. Remember that? My mom would be like, okay, and I'd just go with you.
My mom would always be like, mira, ahí viene Homercito. Because you were
yeah.
tiny back then.
Yeah, dude. I recently seen your mom, and the first thing have you spoke to your mom recently? So I seen her, and I went to go get a chiropractor adjustment, and she was there waiting, and then I come up to her and give her a hug, and she froze. That was probably the most scariest thing to her, dude. I walked up to her,
like from the past or what?
Well, no, she didn't know who I was though, because I haven't seen her in forever.
No, she's seen you recently.
Not too recent, but I mean maybe from far. But
yeah, but the thing about mom though is she's the kind of person who's driving down the intersection. I'm like, Mom, I'm hogging. And
I'm
she's just
next
like,
to you. Yeah. So I seen
tunnel
her,
vision.
and she kind of stared at me with this like, I thought I was getting pepper sprayed or something. You know what I mean? And I went to go hug her, and I was like, hey, it's Omar. And she's like, oh my God, I didn't recognize you. oh, and then I had to like connect dots real quick. And,
Yeah.
you know, I had my two boys with me, and they're just kind of staring like, what is my dad doing? You know, because I'm over there just giving a random old lady.
Woman. You're about to get Karen.
Dude. And so she kind of, I was like, oh my gosh, she gave me a hug back. And then the first thing she said, oh, you're not chunky anymore. I was like, thanks.
Damn it, has it been that long?
I was like, thanks. Yeah, it's been
You
that long.
were a
dude.
little roly-poly. Yeah, you were a little round
I
dude.
was a solid dude, man. I was big. I just like to eat.
Yeah,
you know why
cheeks.
though? I was raised. My grandma raised me with those tortillas, rice beans, and fumigation particles.
Fumigation particles are good.
So
for you,
I think it just brought me back to that memory lane, and then I saw you that day after. You know,
the very next day.
That was the day before I seen your mom.
I'm over there trying to get my
Friday,
passport.
and I remember when you left to college. I just didn't know where you went to, and I would
really?
just hear between my parents when they talk
like,
to your mom.
Where's this guy at? Huh? What's he trying
Yeah,
to
I
do?
just remember they said, "Oh, Alex he went to college in LA," because they were using you as an example of me to be like, "Why don't you get it together? Look at Alex." So
Well, I don't know
was
that I had to get together.
dude. Well, you were like the standard, and
This is standard.
you were the example that my mom was telling me. Like, smack
Meanwhile, I
me
mean
in the head.
ramen soups and this
Right? You were like the
janky
dude.
apartment over in Riverside.
It's so funny because you think about it now. They were trying to instill that into my head, like, go to school, look at Alex. You know what I mean? They were like, go to school. Alex is doing it. Why can't you? What's wrong with you?
Alex lost all of his hair. I don't know that it
Dude.
worked out that well for him.
Now think of it through my lens. I see you come back after you graduate. You're rolling in a Corvette. And I'm like, Alex.
Hey, I got a good deal on that car.
Yeah, I was like, Alex is doing it, dude. I was like, so you know what I mean? Though.
Well, that's what you're seeing. But what you're not seeing
exactly
is the grind of
what took.
my first year of being an attorney. I worked in Tulare, Porterville,
Yeah.
Dinuba. I was living in Fresno County.
Okay.
I ended up working in Kings County. I've worked Madera, Merced,
Wow.
just everywhere. Just
All
gathering,
over.
just gathering knowledge, information,
That's
watching.
what it's about.
Just watching trials, watching people, just watching other attorneys, copying, just copying.
Yeah.
Like it's so weird that like in poetry you can't plagiarize, or
Right.
when you write things you can't plagiarize, but you can steal the way people do things.
Yeah.
You could just look and say, oh yeah, look how
Right.
he's tattooing.
Right.
You don't own your
It's hard to own that right. That
you don't own the right to just hard work.
Mm-hmm.
And if you see hard work, you can learn from the hard work. There's no patent on it.
well, it's like everything's been done, in a sense. Most things, right? If you think of it in this perspective, that country song's been written,
Yeah.
that art has been drawn, that and all you're doing is. You asked earlier when you came in, how do you deal with a lot of people that bring their ideas, their tattoo ideas, whether it's Pinterest or the next TikTok, and it's like, well, the way you had your grind and your studying, watching tape, I had my same study, and you start developing the style that I'm sure you have in a courtroom or in a consultation strategy, or the way your business plan, right? You get trained, but up to a certain point, and I feel like through experience, you start adapting, and you tie your own laces and run with it. But people, they don't realize that it may look. I tell them, I'm like, well, they literally come and say, I want it to look just like that. I'm like, I'm not gonna do it just like that. That's somebody else's tattoo. What if
it's
you don't know they got that for their grandma? They're getting something that is somebody else's. Literally, I've done something that had a timepiece and it has a certain time on there, and I'm like, this looks like it's meant for someone. This could be a date. This can be their birth date.
So that's just a whole level of
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm like, let's personalize this a little more, right? Like country music has been rewritten and same rhythm or melody, but they personalize it to the style of that artist. And you're attacking the courtroom, or you're attacking this, like the things that you watch, the tape, like you mentioned, the things that you're studying, you're gonna still process it your own way to then project it in a different way.
You
right?
have to. Yeah, you're not reinventing the wheel, but you're shaping it a little different.
Right.
You're getting the information. Oh, that's how they do that.
Yeah.
Now that's part of my style. I don't think I even have a style. People tell me, oh, you have a certain style. I don't think I do. I think my style is whatever I feel comfortable in.
Yeah.
Like however I feel comfortable sitting in this chair is how I'm going to do it, regardless of how it comes off. Just as an example, because that's how I can actually get to a conversation where I can be comfortable.
Right.
So then the way I'm speaking and the style that I'm using is really just what makes me feel comfortable to speak.
Right. That's like you getting your own zone in a sense.
Yeah,
right?
that's it. It's just finding where you're at. I used to try to speak the way other attorneys spoke or the way other people did in the courtroom. It didn't work because now I was just doing an imitation.
Sure.
I was doing a comedy routine in essence of someone else.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, hey, you know what? I'm me. I don't always use the right words. I don't always use the right tone. I'm a little rough. I get that. I'm direct because I just kind of want the point to be understood. I could find a way to just get lost and just in thought. So I want to just get to a certain point. So and that's just me then. That just becomes my style. And I think that's just from doing it for a long time. Yeah. I'm pretty sure at first you probably thought your hand had to be a certain way and your arm and your positioning when you were first doing that little happy face tattoo that you were learning.
I put myself in a comfort
that's
posture.
comfortable for you.
Yeah. It's a tattoo because I'm going to be in it for however long, X amount of hours or whatever time frame.
What about your mental state? What if you come in, like that's what I want to know if I can ask you a question. So, got to breakfast in the morning and those eggs just weren't that good.
You got a little
just so
bit
upset.
And you got a rock in your
you're looking at your spouse. You're like, what? I need to get out of here.
I need to go.
And then you have an appointment with me, and I'm saying, all right, let's get this tattoo. And you're like, sit down.
So you know what's funny about that is we feed off of not just in here. I think anywhere, grocery store. Like when I see you, I'm not going to go, Sir Alex Martin, how you doing?
Right.
I'm going to be, what's up?
Yeah.
I'm going to come and grab you. I might push you around a little bit. That's just how I carry myself with certain people a certain way. You feed off that energy, and that energy gets recorded in a sense where you're kind of everywhere you see them. And I've had people where I mean, think about it. I've met a lot of strangers in here, and by the end of the session, I realized that now we're talking like I've known them for a while.
You feel like you can get that in a few hours?
I feel like I can.
I do too.
Yeah. I feel like we can, because I'm feeding off of people's energy. I'm reading body language or...
What's my energy?
Chill. This is how I know you. This is the first time I met you, I'd be recording you right now.
Why?
Recording how you are, how you respond or how you react or certain emotions or certain... we can get a serious, in-depth talk about crazy Atlantic aliens, and then we'll just be like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And then we'll just reroute it to, have you seen the latest black hole?
I think we're just not afraid to be like, well, that sounds so stupid what you just said. Yeah, like, who cares?
I'm sure maybe now we prioritize to make it a pact to have our own downtime, our me time. But I can ask you, when's the last time you really had a me time? Like solely Zen meditational, like the noise or the moments when you would go out, take the Jeep out backcountry.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, that was probably...
That was like one of the last times you've ever really had like your mental clarity, and it's hard for us to find that. It's hard for us. I feel like we should do that more often. And
find our own mental clarity?
Well, yeah, like something like that. And also, I found it's important, like when I'd go hang out and just hang out in your office and do something like what we're doing here in your office.
Just talking.
Just chilling, dude. That was so fun. That was so fun, and I feel...
you can still do that.
I've been wanting to, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I think about... I'll be honest with you, about a month or two, and
like this is an intervention. Like, you're telling me, like,
hey
brother, you haven't been around.
Change. You haven't been you, Alex.
I'm like, hold on a second. I may have a moment, Mr. Omar Rubio.
Just talk, maybe pick your brain, hear your perspective, or hear what's going on, and I found that interesting.
All right, what do you want to know?
Pick. Well, what the time?
Rapid fire. Give me one right now.
What's your anxiety like? How do you cap that?
My anxiety is up the charts.
Do you idle with anxiety? Do you feel like do you perform?
My default, I perform with anxiety.
Okay.
So then I have to make a default.
Okay.
And a level of anxiety. Just, if you're in a jury trial, there's a high level of anxiety.
But you're calm.
In the exterior.
Okay.
That's what you have to portray. Because my own emotions, can't be part of my client.
Yeah.
I may be having my own mental issues or emotional issues. I'm a human being.
Like you mentioned earlier, before I come in here. What's going on? But
that can't be now who my client is. Because maybe I'm fearful of something else. Maybe my own family is having something, in my own personal life. Mm-hmm. And now it appears that I'm fearful for my client because he's so guilty. A lot of that goes through my head.
Yeah.
So I have to try to portray not a facade, because it's still me, but I have to try to get to a position where I'm not exuding all kinds of anxiety, because it is contagious. I'll say for me, it's very contagious. If I'm sitting next to somebody who has got a lot of anxiety, it will make me anxious, because I want to connect with the conversation, and what ends up happening is I kind of start joining the emotions and what we're actually dealing with.
Can you read that? Can you feel that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I start to do it. I start to mimic it. You're one of the calmest people I know.
Really?
It's that serene calmness of, you know what it is? It's the canvas. It's the, you know what? We can just talk about anything.
Yeah.
And no judgment.
Yeah.
Sometimes, in order to work through a problem, you have to throw some ideas out there.
Right.
They're not all the best ideas, and they're not all the best thoughts and comments. So I like having that conversation where I'm allowed to make mistakes.
Yeah.
I love making mistakes, because I can go, oh, there's a mistake. Get it out. Get it out. Get it out. When we used to pick fruit, we always had to get the bad fruit. You know, get that bad fruit out. Make sure it was all good going into the packing house. So it's nice to kind of do that too.
So much metaphor behind that.
You just
pick a bad fruit out.
There's bad fruits out there.
Life.
There's a lot of bad fruit. At some point, this is what I've learned in my old ripened age.
Preach.
This is what I've learned. At some point, you cannot save everybody.
Yeah.
And not to say that there's bad fruit out there, but it doesn't always have to be your bad fruit. So not everybody's problem is my problem. And it's taken me a long time to learn that, because I have a roster of clients. Their problems are definitely my problem. By whatever agreement we have, their problems have become my problem. And I've accepted that. I've consented to that. But everybody else's problem doesn't have to necessarily be my problem. And I get that a lot. An example would be at a bar. I like to drink. Most lawyers do. Not, to a level of alcoholism, but it's nice to go unwind on a Friday night.
Find where the bar is and just go a little under that.
Right. Yeah. Just have a nice beer out with somebody, with some friends.
Social, that's
keep
social
it clean.
drinking.
Sure. But it happens often. Yeah. Or I could be at a bar and, hey, I know you because you're a lawyer, and I'm having a drink just like everybody else. And I'm, going through my own problems just like everybody else. Not necessarily work, maybe my kids, maybe whatever personal life. And hey, I got a couple questions for you. Sure, I'll entertain the questions. Now it becomes a whole consultation. Like, I'm not holding court here. I'm not holding consultations at a bar. I'm literally just sitting here, and I can't answer everybody's questions. I'd love to. The second best thing if I wasn't a lawyer, I would probably have my own gardening business. I love doing all that stuff. So I liken it to that. Yeah. Now if I was at the bar and I was out there doing all my yard work and I was done for the day, and someone came up and said, hey, can you come mow my lawn real quick? I think everybody would understand. Yeah. Hey, I think Alex is just trying to have a beer. Right. All right. He's been mowing everyone's lawns all day. He's been because hey man, I can really carve it up with that weed eater. Man. Edges are pretty good. Edges. I got no edges. I have no hairline edges, but I can get them on the trees. But now I'm at the bar and they're telling me to go mow someone's lawn. But if you're at the bar and you've turned your brain off because you're not really thinking about everyone's problems, hey, can you think about my problems? I'm trying to have a beer.
We have a lot of parallels with that. Become a consultation while you're out and trying to just have your own time.
What do you think about this tattoo? What do you think about that tattoo?
What's your opening's like? Hey, I sent you a message.
So it's a lot of. But we appreciate our clients, right? We appreciate our clientele. That's what makes us. If not, we'd be homeless. I totally get it. But when it's not business, you're not always tattooing. You're not always an artist, right? You're also Omar, who's drinking out of the manguera.
I'm also the water hose, drinking, waterfall sipping. You have an artistic brain.
I have an artistic brain?
Yes, a creative brain.
I have a messy brain.
It's creative. It's
like everywhere.
It's creative because you listen.
Control my thoughts.
In your office, you can have Beethoven, Mozart, corridos, back to like the some Michael Bublé, country, whatever. You throw it around, but you have that. Sometimes you just want to have that orchestral lacrimosa playing in the background. And then you're kind of using that as its background noise, but it's soothing and it's
I see what you're saying. When you get into the zone. Well, everybody gets into a zone in their profession. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter. I used to, when I was a kid, I watched my grandma and my mom at the packing house.
Oh, yeah.
Did your mom do that too?
Yeah, she did.
Right?
They
When you're
worked
picking
together.
the fruit out, right?
They worked together, Del Monte and the...
Those women picking the fruit out in the conveyor belts would get into a zone.
It's crazy.
They would just look down and just break time.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I can't, there's no way I can ever focus my brain to that.
You know, they hold a pretty intense job. They got to literally sort out the conveyor belt's moving at a
Rapid pace.
Good speed.
I used to have to massage my mom's calves when she'd come home because she's like, they're just standing all day long.
Yeah.
But that's some focus.
Yeah.
Some sewing type focus. Imagine doing that in your profession. You do that in your profession.
Yeah.
I do that, but it's hard to do it in a conversation with a client. It's really hard because not only am I focusing on what they're telling me, a lot of what they're saying is incorrect. Everybody checks on Google for what the laws are, and it's just not correct.
Yeah.
Or everybody's friend or Theo or their neighbor are like, oh, I've been through it. It's X, Y, and Z. It's totally not. So I have to hear that. You probably get it with, hey, this is the way a tattoo should be.
I wish sometimes the courtrooms were like UFC fights, where it's like they need to step it up and be like entering the blue corner and just being an announcer. Yeah. That'd be crazy, like a Bruce Buffer
King in there,
like a Bruce Buffer come out and just like, and now.
So you want more excitement?
Well, that's what people want. I feel it's not even like that.
I know that. Well, no, it's not because that's what they want. They come in, they're like, "You guys are gonna fight."
You think it's gonna be? Yeah, and he was like, "Well, again, back to the whole leaders. Imagine if our president's election was like, let's duke it out in the pit."
I'm okay with that actually.
That'd be cool, right?
I'm okay with the president duking it out.
That'd be tight. Or nations.
You know, we the people know, but if you want to be president of the United States, dude, I think you need to take a punch, and you need to give a punch.
Our president could take a shot. You know what I mean? Former president could take a bullet, dude.
Well, his ear can.
Yeah, his ear can. It's crazy. I recently seen this guy attack this whole situation at the convention they just had, right? And say, wow, the lapel's on the wrong side and the ear bent. I'm like, dude, the video's flipped. You see, like, what's going on, guys? We lost. It's a mirrored image.
Are you trying to get into this? I'm trying to get away from this.
No, this is going around. This is a segue into where I want us. I have a question. But yeah, I just think where we are right now, it's
where we are as a country.
Imagine if these nations, though, like, okay, let's put all these big world leaders, put them in the pit and being like, all right, you want war? Let's bring my tribe and your tribe and we'll go in the pit. Let's see who's
just old school.
I would be scared if it was like, we're not standing too great. You know, like, okay, Russia, Putin knows like jiu-jitsu and like, dude, he's
so you're looking at the lineup. You're just straight up looking at the lineup,
dude. North Korea.
Okay, but who do we have that's like a barbarian type fighter?
Okay,
Bernie Sanders.
What are we gonna do?
Obama, maybe. Obama's the youngest one of all the former presidents.
If we send him out there, we're so not gonna win. Mexico would just, all right. There's a border situation now. We're just Mexico. It's not USA anymore. It's just Mexico. You know,
pretty much, yeah.
Russia. Those guys they know like sambo. That's like Russian fighting. That's dangerous, dude. Brazil.
So you want to get into this? I don't think our odds are all that good.
No,
we
it's
don't
not.
Have fighting
but imagine if that's what it was like back in the day, where it's like,
yeah, you would just send your warrior in and say, all right.
That's what I felt like it. You know, instead of all that's rigged, elections rigged.
I think the shooting was real, but I think the question remains: how did somebody get such close access?
Right.
How did somebody get that close and take that clean a shot at a former president? I think there may be a legal issue. I shouldn't be going too much, but there is kind of a legal issue going on. The Secret Service seemed to be guarding a certain area around Trump, and that building wasn't necessarily their jurisdiction.
Sure.
It was for the local police. So the local police.
Now we're talking about like
right. So now we're talking about two laser tag teams not having communication with each other, because it was almost like the building could have been the top of a KFC or a Wendy's, and if you saw a guy in the top of a KFC or a Wendy's, and the building happens to be 300 yards away from where Trump is, do you now, as a sniper, have the right to shoot that guy? He may be trying to fix the HVAC on the Wendy's.
That's not your jurisdiction.
It's not your jurisdiction.
We're really doing that.
Yeah, well, that's what it is.
That's
it wasn't.
Wild.
There's a lot of things that could have been done.
So you're defending the shooter. What happens?
I'm not. Look at you,
bro.
Look at you.
Hot take.
I'm defending the shooter. Now I have to.
Or the family. They're going to need some help.
Well,
because they're going to go after the family. I'm assuming.
Right, but I don't do that area.
Oh.
I don't know if the shooter,
Sure, who's alive?
who was alive, would I defend him? Yeah.
How would it go down?
How would it go down?
He tells you, like,
Well, now we're talking about it in a hypothetical sense.
Should we ask AI to be the shooter?
Sure. No.
Ooh, that's kind of dark, huh?
I don't know about dark. I mean, I think you got the FBI wondering why you're asking the AI to be a shooter.
You're right. All right.
But what would you ask the AI?
So, I would be like, hey, can you role play this character? You know what I'm saying?
I'm trying to keep it as general as possible, right? Because this isn't a specific client or anything.
No. Yeah.
So if you're asking me, what do you do when you have a client who's a little hostile, or not just hostile, who's maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we understand what I'm saying.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I treat it like it's anybody else. I'll be honest, I've been fooled before.
Yeah.
Because I don't try to go in, sometimes you get notes or people will say, hey, this person may not be on all cylinders. They may not be mentally all there. That could give you some kind of a bias, right? That can give you an idea of, this person maybe not be all there. But then you may be picking up on cues of what they're telling you and interpreting them that way. So I try not to hear some of that stuff when, hey, this is going to be, because not all of my clients, or some of them are appointed,
right,
if the courts need overstaff and conflicts come in. So if that client came in and that person was someone who people have already told me may not be all there mentally, I'm still going to try to have a conversation with them. And the reason why I do it is because I don't want to take anybody's word for anything. I still have to do an independent analysis.
Right.
If you're a mechanic and you're going to fix a car, and a bunch of other people say, "Well, I looked at it. It's the spark plugs. It's spark plugs." Well, you're still going to come look under the hood and go, "Well, this isn't connected over here. Maybe it wasn't even the spark plug. Maybe you guys think it's the spark plug." You're going to do your own independent analysis.
Process of elimination.
So I still have to talk to the person like there's nothing going on. Like, hey, how's it going? And you'll be surprised how many people will actually have a normal conversation with you, and it's not like people were telling you. There's also some people that can have a good 50-question conversation back and forth, and you really have to peel those layers till you finally start to go, oh, there's more going on here, because now we're really talking about something different.
Yeah.
But it takes an actual conversation. So how would I approach that person?
A situation like that. Let's
I mean, I wouldn't come in and say, hey, you took a swipe at the former president.
Yeah.
I introduce myself, have a conversation, how are things going?
Feel it out, huh?
And then just start to go into the, what he has a right to know. He has a right to know what the charges are against him, right?
Off the rip, that's your...
Off the rip. I am here, at the end of the day, I'm a glorified waiter.
Right.
I'm here to tell you what the specials are. And the specials are that you've been accused of attempting to kill the former president of the United States and killing one other individual who was in the audience, and I think another person was injured.
Right.
So those are the charges against you. You have a right to know that, and he does. And he has a right to know that from somebody who's completely unbiased, to let him know these are the things that you're looking at. This is what you're facing. This is what they actually have to prove. This is what you can do to make a decision on certain things, and certain things you can't make a decision on. I have to make a decision.
Yeah.
A lot of information.
That's a law.
That's
this is
a law.
Alex Martin and down Fulton Street.
That's a lot of information for someone to hear, because the first thing they want to know is, when am I getting out?
Right. With immigration law, because I know you defend a lot of that, right? A lot of the raza.
Yeah. Usually in the criminal side.
Oh, okay. So what about immigration law? That's a whole different. Like somebody says, my mom she doesn't have residency. She doesn't have her citizenship. Have you ever dealt with things? Okay.
So there's two major areas of law. There's the area where people are trying to petition to either get status here or up their status from residency to citizenship, or whatever it is that they're trying to do, get a visa.
Yeah.
Those are all proactive things where you're trying to ask for permission to do certain things. Then there's a whole other area of law, which is what I deal more with, which is
something happened and they are
post-conviction. Something bad has now happened.
Okay.
You've been accused of a crime that the immigration...
Or you get pulled over.
Right.
And
or there's a warrant or convictions that are in the past that are now coming up. That's when I come in, because there's either a case to be fought, because maybe there was a warrant, someone didn't take care of a case.
Sure.
And there's an accusation that's still out there. They need to be defended on that. But then, in turn, they also need to understand how that can affect their immigration status.
I was going to say, because what's the turnout? Whenever that it all depends on how the like the conclusion of all this, but they're living in the States and the government knows they're here paying taxes. How does that work?
There's a lot of people like that.
How does that work? That's what I don't understand. They can literally, they know you're here, you're a number.
You gotta think of it as, in more simple terms, there's two different things. There's the time when the government wants to physically remove you from here, and there's a time where the government is saying you are not necessarily one of us. So when you're still here and you're walking around, it's almost like the government saying you're not necessarily one of us. So there's a whole area of law that you can deal with there, which is, are you a dreamer? Are you here because you came here involuntarily?
Are you an asset?
Right.
Versus...
Well, dreamer like the Dream Act, like the coming in, because that goes towards a mental state. That goes towards the fact that I didn't come here illegally. My parents brought me here illegally, and I can't be faulted for what they did because I was a child. So the government knows of individuals like that. You register and you say, hey, I'd like permission to do certain things. And you're now allowed to do certain things. So those are individuals who the government has pretty much said, we don't want you removed, but we haven't really given you the, hey, you're part of the team, right? You can't wear the jersey yet.
Yeah.
You're on the practice squad, but you're not really making the roster.
You're trainee.
Right. Yeah. Then you have the people that are saying, hey, if we find you, we're getting you out of here. And that's more rare. It used to be where people,
That's what I thought.
You
I thought
remember as a kid, you would always hear that, Tío Fulano La migra got him, and then they just kicked him over, and then what they do, they just threw him over.
They'd come right back.
Right, come right back, throw him over, come right back, and throw him right over. Yeah. But that's because we were in a time where agriculture was very hands-on.
Right.
And, as many people as you throw back, we need a few to come in and actually do some work.
Okay.
We're not there anymore. We don't need all that manual labor anymore. So now it's, hey, you can't come here anymore, and we actually need you to leave, but there's still a lot of people that are actually been told to leave, and they're still here. There's so much more to immigration than just you can or cannot be here, and you
is that an
need
area,
to leave or not.
Is that an area where just once in a while you'll take it on, or like are you trying to be solely just criminal and
criminal, and if it affects anything with immigration?
Okay.
But the ultimate defending in immigration court, I refer to my friends who do that. And they refer also to me, because they'll have somebody who is potentially going to go into immigration deportation proceedings, but they have an open case, a criminal case, say in Fresno, a DUI, a domestic violence, some type of assault, some type of delinquency here in Fresno. Well, that case needs to be resolved.
Right. For
the government to say, hey, we feel, almost like buying a home, all your debts kind of need to be settled. We need to know where you're at before we can loan you a large amount of money.
Yeah.
We need to understand where you're at with the government before we can allow you to be here. That's the way it's looked at.
Okay.
So there is a divide with what are you trying to do? Proactively trying to petition for somebody, or prevent somebody from leaving here because of some wrong act?
Because I hear...
And the laws have changed a lot in that.
Yeah.
It used to be before where a prosecutor would not only prosecute somebody for doing something wrong, a crime, but then would say, hey, let's make sure that it's the type of crime that you can get deported. And they were proactive in trying to get people deported based on the crimes. It's changed in the past 5 years, where the laws have now become, just because someone is accused of a crime doesn't mean we have to try to now penalize them in their immigration status. So you have to try to work through a way to resolve a scenario. You have to try to work out something where, hey, let's just say that it's a crime for me to grab this and throw it against the wall.
Sure.
But there's two different laws or two different codes, to describe that act of grabbing this thing and throw it against the wall. One of them is deportable, and the other one is not. Maybe one, I threw it against the wall because I wanted to break your wall, and maybe the other one, I just wanted to really stick it to you because I really hate your guts. Maybe there's some kind of evil factor involved. As long as one is removed, it's no longer something that immigration is concerned with. Immigration generally is concerned with people that are just bad people. So there's a difference between doing things that are everyday bad acts. Hey, things happen. And hey, man, you just really are a liar. You're a liar and you're violent. That is something that we don't like. Fraudulent stuff and violent, that's what needs to be defended. Because sometimes people are accused of something they've done wrong, but it's not really as violent as the government says it is. Or it's not really as much of a lie. It's really, I had a case where a guy had an ID. He had different IDs, but they weren't for fraudulent purposes. He had them from different places he worked. But in what he was doing, he didn't always use the proper name, because when he came over, he was using a certain name. So when he worked at a certain place, he used that name.
Yeah.
Then he started legitimizing himself, and he's no longer John Doe, and he actually is using his real name. But maybe he still has connections to some company where he works at, but he's known as the other guy. Now, he should correct that. He should correct the problem and be known where he should be known, but it doesn't always happen. And if you get pulled over and the officer starts going through your wallet, he starts seeing all these IDs, it makes it look like you're some fraudulent person who's going out there and just stealing from people. But the reality is, he came in as Juan, but now he's really Jose, because now we really know who he is. So there's a lot to be talked about, like in a courtroom. What really is happening here? Is this really like everybody's this evil, bad person? Or hold on a second.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Let's decide this, or
Calm, more calm manner.
I can see where things look bad, and then the stuff that follows behind that and whatnot. I was just curious why and how that worked, because I'm like, I remember the laws being so more strict with the whole immigration, because you want to defend those that are getting taken advantage of, that don't understand that, or they only speak Spanish and they don't understand. I don't know what this means. I got this letter.
A lot of people, they don't understand, and hey, maybe
goes back to your dad's story when you seen that, and you're like, I kind of want to be that.
It's not as bad as you think if you really read what is on the letter and try to respond, and really ignore it. It's not good.
Yeah, right.
Like a warrant for your arrest. I mean, unless you can hide forever,
right?
It's going to catch up to you.
Yeah. Did he? You know what I mean? Would you defend him? He calls you tomorrow.
Yes.
Hey, Alex, check it out, man. I'm gonna fly you out here to Peru. Don't say anything. I need to talk to you, and just be like,
I'm not flying over to Peru,
or wherever he's at. He's in Bolivia.
We can have a consultation at my office.
Where's Diddy?
I have no idea.
No,
I would represent him. It's just, I'm not gonna bend any rules. I'm still who I am.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna follow the rules that I have to follow ethically. As long as I can stay within those bounds. I got this Lord's. I gotta give it to you. It's called the Lawyer's Prayer.
Oh, I've heard.
Have you seen this? It's in my office. Heard of this. Yeah. I like it. It really talks about the idea of what you are supposed to do, and it's basically praying to God, saying, just let me be able to work within these bounds. Let me not be biased. Let me not let emotions play on anything, so that I can't. And then not and don't. It ends with, I'm totally butchering it, but it ends with basically saying, don't let me try to make myself bigger just to win a point. Yeah. And that's just ridiculous, because you shouldn't be trying to win arguments just to win one.
That sounds like a tattoo idea.
Oh man. You know who I am? I'm like the you remember in Lion King where Simba when Simba finds, what's the little pig's name?
Like Timon and Pumbaa.
Pumbaa. Remember when he finds Pumbaa and he wants to eat him?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I'm Pumbaa every time I come here, and you're Simba just wandering the world, because I'm like, I got no tattoos on me.
I just sense that clean canvas.
Right, like you're like Hannibal Lecter.
That never
and you
like
want my skin.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, you should maybe moisturize, Alex. It's like,
what would you artistically?
You've never really place? I remember one time you wanted to get some sort of Gotham or Batman tattoo.
Is it Batman? But then I started thinking that's just played out.
Really?
Yeah.
How so?
What's Batman?
I would get.
Oh Lord, how original!
I'm not a logo. I wouldn't tell you to get the Batman symbol. I would do something cool. Like it would be cool to do some sort of. Our area is like Gotham City.
Okay.
And the slums are what lies within.
Maybe a backdrop.
Yeah, like some sort of backdrop deal with
like a downtown.
Yeah.
But it can't be looking like nice. It's got to have a water tower. It's got to have a water tower. Definitely have a water tower.
And have the iconic things.
And it has to have fire escapes. Right?
Yeah, fire escapes.
Got to have a couple. Yeah, you got to have fire escapes.
Yeah.
Rooftops.
Yeah.
Got to have some rooftops. So you got to have some levels.
I'm trying to think what would be
the moon glistening on the little HVAC. I mean, if you can get all that, just like the the aluminum that goes over the roof.
Yeah, have that little bit of glare.
Just a little bit of glare.
Yeah, have like what is it?
And then like somebody's keys that are just left there
with the Sanger Mountain in the background.
Sanger Mountain, in the background. You're just gonna recreate a whole thing, and then the Golden Gate Bridge.
When are we doing this?
Connecting to
with the prayer.
You're just gonna make
the attorney prayer underneath
the
it.
attorney prayer. It's just gonna be like.
Dude,
the Goldilocks tattoo of all tattoos. It would be epic. You should live stream this.
That would be cool. That would
someday.
Be cool. No, but you've never thought of like ink is just not your.
My mom said she would hit me in the face with a chancla if I got a tattoo.
Fear of the mother.
Which doesn't really concern me because I've been hit in the chancla before, but I think she just really put it there.
It's respect.
It's, yeah. I don't know what her opinion of it is now. And I think I'm over 18 now, so.
Well, she looked pretty shocked when I came and hugged her and didn't know who I was, so she's probably still thinks the tattoos are.
No, but okay. But see, now we're talking about the old school generation of thought.
Yeah.
And somebody can have a certain thought about a certain thing, but not have that thought about a certain person.
Yeah.
So once they realize it's the person, maybe that has the thing no longer matters. Oh, it's the person. Hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were.
You've seen. So I know I wanted to ask you about the questions of what you've seen from some of the intense tattoos coming out of jail. And the tattoos in the system, tattoos in the court.
I don't like them.
You don't like them?
I don't like them because you have a Fifth Amendment right to remain silent, and tattoos speak.
Yeah, there you go. I think you hit it hard with that.
And
it tells a lot. It can tell.
It's hard to try to convince 12 people that a certain thing is a certain way or is not a certain way.
Or once was.
When my client has a certain tattoo that is saying the opposite of what I'm saying.
Projecting a different message.
Specifically gang tattoos. So, hey, my client isn't a gang member. My client has turned his life around. My client is doing X, Y, and Z. But he has all these numbers on him. And he has all these symbols and things that we all know to be gang-related. Well, as you know, tattoos aren't like made every day. They're made with an idea at a certain time.
Yeah. And
you don't always. It doesn't always represent you. It's not always, this is the thing that I wrote here is what I still am.
Okay, identity.
Right?
Yeah,
like when you got Maria's tattoo. You're not married to Maria anymore, right? But you still have Maria's tattoo.
Yeah.
But, that's an easier one. You can get rid of it or cross it over. But when you have a lot of gang tattoos, and they're very specific, that's hard to say he's turned his life around.
I don't stand by that anymore. You're wearing it proudly. Or
are you? Because you're still wearing it. And the ones that I hate is when someone's in custody and they're getting more tattoos. And to me, I hate it because I can't do anything about it. My client has the right to do what they want to do. They want to get tattoos all they want about dragons and swords and stuff. That's great. But if it's literally saying, hey, I am what this accusation says I am, you are not making my job easier. Mm-hmm. And I don't necessarily think gangs should exist. I defend a lot of gang members and people accused of gang crimes, but I don't think that gangs should exist. Mm-hmm. So if you're getting more tattoos, there's two reasons. One, you're screwing up your case, and two, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I have so many conversations with my clients, confidentially, that are about just gang life, and I probably sound like that big brother that they're just like, shut up already. Just shut up.
Yeah, this whole country is kind of a gang.
The whole country?
It stands one side or the other side. They're running with this guy, they're running with that guy. Red and blue. How ironic.
And now all of a sudden you have a symbol.
Wild, huh? You got a donkey tat or you got an elephant
tat? But if you put it on yourself, right. Oh, absolutely. Oh, people are tattooing themselves with their political party like it's nobody's business.
I've seen some.
You're right.
Tats.
You're right. Political parties have become the new tattoo modernly. It's the new, and it's easy because you just have to ask like one or two questions, and you can see where the person is, right or left.
I find it kind of sad that becomes. I mean, right now we're openly talking about it, but because this is again opinions or views. But if you're hanging around in a social setting and it's like, so you Republican, you Democrat, and I'm like, is this small talk for you? How about what do you do out here? Are you from here? If I'm out of state,
do you eat food?
Yeah. Or do you work?
I try to find out if the person's a human first.
Right.
You eat food, human food or dog food?
It's crazy how that becomes small talk.
Because it's a badge. It's what you are.
My most interesting conversations have been with strangers at airports when they're just, from a state that isn't, tattoos are not, they haven't hit there yet as heavy, and they're just kind of
really
staring.
thought about that. You're saying tattoos are not everywhere the way they are in California?
Well, again, some people aren't really exposed to or used to seeing people so covered, or they only see it once in a while, but then they see a guy that's just sitting there waiting, and they're just kind of like breaking their neck, and you're just like, how's it going?
Oh, you think they're looking at you like...
There's a lot of views. There's some that are just genuinely will, like nice old ladies would be like, I love your art. I'm like, wow, that's awesome.
Hey, I would say California is different. Do you remember cops having tattoos when you were younger?
No.
Now they all have sleeves.
Yeah.
Neck. I know neck tattoos. Most of the gang units here have just tattoos everywhere. So it's not. I think you're right. It is geographically. Here, it's not. Having the tattoo isn't the problem.
Right.
To me, like when a client gets a tattoo, it's not getting the tattoo. It's what it says.
Right.
That's the biggest problem. But you're right. There's other areas where just having the tattoo is the problem.
Right.
Like you shouldn't even have ink on you.
I've seen a lot of places that they haven't caught up to what we're doing, and other places they choose not to because they're closing off.
Is it like the middle?
The world, yeah. Midwest.
Like the Bible Belt?
Well, they have tattoos, but I would say they choose to very filter things out, or they don't see somebody as heavily covered, or the face tattoos, because they only hear about this correlates with that, or this is kind of...
Or they don't.
It has to be connected to something, like you mentioned. Like if you're standing in a court, I feel like that's where the idea of your profile means everything, and your first impression or the way you present yourself. And if you're wearing something, that then becomes a part of your profile. Like if you get a face tattoo, that's now go get your ID, your driver's license updated then, because it's going to be kind of.
You're right. You didn't have that before. Well, how about, I have to write, when it says color your hair, I have to write bald. Right.
Is that an option, though?
Yes. So I write bald, and what do you write? More tattoos? Can I write, like, getting balder, and you're like, 3 more tattoos?
Yeah. I don't know. I guess you, like, register your tattoos.
Yeah, register your tattoos. I mean, I have to register my baldness and my eye color.
That's crazy.
Shout out to Helios Tattoo Supplies, one of the newest sponsors for the podcast. I'm proud to be a sponsored pro team member using their needles on the daily. Next time you're thinking about stocking up on supplies, head over to the website heliostattoos.com. Thanks again to Helios for sponsoring myself as an artist and sponsoring the pod.
Do you think that the placement of your tattoos has anything to do with the way anybody would look at you?
I can tell when they're looking at a tattoo. Like if I'm talking to somebody and they start doing this and they're looking at like a cheek, or they're looking at my ears.
Oh, they're actually like
I could see that.
Like you could see me right now looking at your tattoos.
Yeah, like I can tell when they're staring at something else. Like they're looking at my ears, and I'm like, big old holes in your ears. Or how long did that take? Dude, I've had some kids have no filter.
Oh, I love kids. So that's exactly the reason.
Kids will my kids are used to it. Other kids, if I go to their school or something, they're just, the kid in front of me is just like looking at me. I remember like in a bus or something, and the little kid behind you is just staring at you. And he's just looking, and I'm just kind of like,
what are you gonna do?
What do you do?
Just be like, ah.
Yeah, like fit the part, like, but
give him what he wants.
I know my son told me one time his friend said, "Your dad looks intimidating," or "Your dad looks scary with the tattoos." And I also heard the other end when he's like, "Hey, your dad looks chill."
See, that's what's funny to me. Probably because I knew you when you had 0 tattoos, obviously.
Right.
That to me, I'm just looking in your eyes. I'm just like, that's all about the feet, though. You could keep tatting, but the eyes don't change in a person. The way someone talks, the way they carry themselves.
Becca finally clocked in. I'm just kidding.
Finally clocked in. We have an employment dispute.
Finally getting to work,
rights,
Becca.
If you want to talk to me, Becca.
Jeez, you're in here like 2 times a month.
2 times a month. He's already throwing your schedule. He shouldn't be speaking about you publicly like that.
Oh, look at that.
Disparaging.
Slandering Becca.
Slandering your employee.
I am not slandering her.
Okay.
Yeah, Alex. Yeah, she's like, together.
Got you.
Are you against any tattoo that is potentially harming to you?
I don't feel like people. I don't get the case where.
Is there a line?
I think there's a line, and I like people to be serious about the tattoo.
Are there places in your body that you think you should not get a tattoo? It's just unsafe.
Yeah, there's some unsafe things, but people still
because they want to say, "Look, I have that." Well, everyone talks about the sleeve.
It's almost like a conversation starter too. To be like,
look at this.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at the inside of my nostril.
Exactly. Check this out.
Look, I have a tattoo of a nose inside of my nose.
I got your name tattooed on me, and it's like your name. Have you ever heard of that?
It says your name.
It says your name. You know, things like that, or like a QR code.
A QR code.
QR code is pretty cool.
Let's back up for a second. I've thought about the QR code.
Have you?
Yes.
Okay.
The QR code. Obviously, you have to register and buy it. Like that would be your QR code.
Right.
That would be the greatest because if you just had a QR code just right here
with all your info,
and somebody's like, "Hey,
what if that is what's going to happen now? What if that is like?
I mean, we may as well move
our
there.
Information is going to be QR code.
Pretty much is.
I feel like that's a possibility.
Yeah.
Because in a QR code, you can put a link to
right, and then you can change that destination link to whatever you want it to be.
So if you need
just your QR
if you need
code.
You can put your medical information. In case of, well, you know your phone has that. You have the SOS thing, right? And you also have you can put your medical information on your phone.
Look at you saving lives with tattoos,
dude. Yeah, if you need your QR code,
if you need your blood QR code, blood type. You're absolutely right.
We can generate it,
right? And then it could change because then it's fluid. You're right. Sure you could just keep updating the website.
Yeah, let's do it. I got QR code flash.
We'll just go to all the hospitals.
Yeah.
And then we'll sell it to everybody. It'll be the third-party vendor right there.
I might have to take this out because someone's going to steal this idea, dude. Hey, yeah, you'll go in as a partner.
I'm trying to make some money, of course. Are there any requests you turn down?
Yeah. I redirect things.
You redirect.
Yeah, redirect. It's my job to show you maybe this is a better idea. Let's not go this direction. That's kind of like you, though. Somebody tells you, well, what about, can I ask for this agreement? And you'd be like,
bad about that. I'm trying to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, I just say no right away. Like, it's not going to happen.
Right, okay.
I can't really do that.
I guess it's a little more like straight to the point with in your line. Yeah, I
guess I'm not afraid to hurt some feelings. But I think that you probably would. Because you don't want to hurt some feelings.
Is there slack in the law, though? Is there any sense of slack?
Yeah. Humanity.
And someone says, hey, we lost the case, but not really. Let's take the small victories of what terms you got versus what you could have gotten. That's still kind of a win.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Right? Even if you lose a case like a trial, sometimes it's better to, if you fight your case and you have a trial and you lose, you're really sometimes only losing based on certain accusations. You're not losing on the whole thing.
Yeah.
Or sometimes, okay, we see what you did, and yes, that technically is against the law. So somebody should find you guilty of that. But now that we know exactly how you did it, that's a huge difference from what we thought you did. Like if you hear stabbing, oh, he stabbed him. You think, that's really bad. But then if it turns out that it was in a fight and there's a quarrel and then something got grabbed and really it was more like punching and maybe it was, there's more to what actually happened.
Right.
Then you start to say, okay, now the punishment is really based on what we know happened as opposed to what we think happened. Just some fantastical idea. So that helps.
Yeah.
Because the court system doesn't know you. Somebody has to tell the court system the story.
Yeah.
Somebody has to say, this is what happened. Let me tell you about it. Truths, lies, and you have people on either side to try to get to that answer.
Yeah.
But before that, all we know is that, Omar Ruby was accused of beating some guy up at a bar. What a horrible guy.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
the charge doesn't say, but he pleads self-defense, and he also says that the guy, was saying all these things about his family and his kids. It doesn't say that. It just says Omar Ruby was accused of a crime.
Yeah.
So how do we now get out the rest?
Yeah, because I know some cases where you'll hear it, and I'm sure you've run into it where someone says, "Oh, the system's kind of broken," or the system is failing its people.
The system is broken.
Do you feel like that? Like the system?
That one hurts me.
Really?
That one actually hurts me.
Like the system is failing.
No,
its
that people believe that the system is broken.
Okay.
That the system doesn't work. That one hurts me because it makes me really think. I don't think people have really paid attention to what the system is.
Okay.
The system can only
Again, that could be their own situation or scenario where they're like, I think the law system is failing its people because maybe they lost,
right?
And they couldn't take an L. You know what I mean? Yeah. You can't take an L.
The system sucks.
Yeah. You're just being pitied.
They caught you on camera. Yeah. The system sucks.
Yeah.
No, but I'm just people talking generally that the system sucks, and they have no dog in the fight. They just say, "Hey, our system sucks."
Yeah.
My answer to that is, well, it's not. Can you think of one better? It's the best one we have. I hear people say that all the time. That bothers me too. It's the best we have. Just because something's the best doesn't mean, oh, okay, we're okay with it. Well, this is the best water we've had. Well, can we stop drinking canal water?
Yeah.
Maybe there's a filtration system.
Maybe there's
right.
Yeah.
Maybe we can clean it up. So funny. Hey, let's make things a little bit better in the system. The only way to make the system better is the people. The people suck.
Yeah.
Me too. We all suck.
Yeah.
The moment, I'll tell you how I suck. I'm part of the system. I'll never be a juror. Although I'm eligible to be a juror, I can be called for jury service. Nobody's going to pick me as a juror because I know too much on the inside, right? But so my job is always going to be in a jury trial. My role is always going to be an attorney. Your role, unless you go to law school and be an attorney or be a deputy in a courtroom, your role is going to be potentially as a juror. So you and I have two different roles. When the system fails is when I don't take my job seriously and you don't take your job seriously.
That makes sense.
And I don't take my job seriously if I start going, I read in the paper, so-and-so tried to assassinate Donald Trump. So if I just take that for granted and say, oh, well, it looks like he did it, I failed the system at that very moment if I'm going to be the attorney. If I'm playing the role of the attorney, like an old sitcom, the attorney will be played by Alexander Martin. Okay, here I am. My job is to go, I don't know anything about that. All I know is he's accused of shooting somebody. I'd like to see some videos. I'd like to see some photographs. Some people get insulted by that point. How dare you? How dare you question? Look how obvious it is. I'm not here to please anybody. I'm here to make my own independent assessment of this and look through this. So I have to do my part. But the moment I start to say, you know what, he is guilty. He did do this. He did do that. I can see it everywhere. I am failing this system. Yeah. Because if I'm wrong, or I'm just an asshole myself, if I'm wrong, I failed him because everyone's looking to me to say, well, if even his own attorney doesn't believe him, then he must be guilty. So I have to keep a poker face, don't show any emotion for that, talk to my client. Whether I believe he's guilty or not is nobody's concern. But the juror has a very important role too. I've never heard anybody say, hey man, Omar, check it out. What's going on? Hey, how you been? How you doing? Alex, how you been? Oh, well, I got jury service next week. I'm fucking awesome. Excited. That's awesome. It's just fucking great. Right. No, that doesn't happen. Instead, people say, shit, I got jury service. Can I continue it? Or how do I get out of this? I know because my friends call me and say, how do I get out of jury service? They want out of jury service. Huh. How are we going to have a system that works where the only way to safeguard against the government making false accusations is to have a jury come in and independently look at everything and say, I think this did or didn't happen, when the people we get to choose for jurors say, I don't want to be on jury duty. I'm going to lie. I'm going to tell them that I have a medical issue.
That's your best bet? You got guys that don't even want to be there.
Nobody wants to even be there. That's hard. And then people say the system sucks. Mm-hmm. Well, the system is just like the system you've created here of where all of your ink goes and where all your machinery goes. Right. But if I now come in and I don't follow your system of how things get cleaned, it's going to be a disaster around here. And then I'm going to say, oh man, Omar's system sucks. No, I suck.
You failed me.
You failed.
Yeah.
You failed. Tell me that you're happy to do jury service, then you can tell me the system sucks.
I got you. That's a good. That's a good response to that. I like that.
I'm a little angry about it. Sorry.
No, that's great. I want to rev you up. So I could ask you about the Abogados del Valle, bro.
Abogados del Valle.
Tell me about that. Who started that? Who is it?
It's
Who's
me.
this crew, man? I feel like this is like the Los Bookies or
Los Bookies.
You know,
it's getting people together to say, hey, you know what? I want representation, but I want maybe Hispanic representation. Okay. And it's not necessarily like I need to have a Mexican representing me, but in my field, from what I've seen, you have to trust somebody, right? If you're going to put a tattoo on me, I have to have some trust in you. I guess some people just come in, like you say, before we started here, that I'll just pick number 27.
Shoot from the hip. Yeah.
Give me the heart with the broken heart and just tattoo. But that's not how you're going to be, right? It's going to be someone who's going to trust you. Yeah. And I'm going to come in and trust that you're going to do something to me permanently. So my client's got to trust me. But we have to have some kind of common ground. And a lot of the common ground is just your own culture. Just growing up and, hey, I know these attorneys that are from here, Wow. So they know the area. They're invested, right? Well, I'm from here. So I want my community to be good. I want to represent my people. So I want to represent for my people. My people would be La Raza, right? And that would be what we basically are for. Just anybody who needs representation, who wants to speak in Spanish, that's great. Or maybe you just want to speak to someone about certain cultural issues. I have friends that are different races, attorneys that are different races. I have a Hmong attorney friend who just became a judge.
I was going to ask you about that. She was a. What did she do before that?
She represented the Hmong community.
Wow.
And
there was an opening, and she just like.
And she applied to be a judge and was qualified, and she was chosen. But she represented the Hmong community. And you could think, well, I went to law school with her, and well, shouldn't we know the same laws? Well, of course we do. But I don't know her culture and her people the way she does. And she's not going to know my culture and my people the way I do. And there's certain communities, there's an African American community, there's more of an Asian community, and And to a certain extent, there is pretty much a Anglo-American community of lawyers where, hey, we all know each other. We're from a certain area, North Clovis, North Fresno, and there's a certain area of lawyers. The Latino community doesn't necessarily have to choose from just who is out there as a lawyer. Hey, maybe you want someone that's more like you.
Right.
Call abogados advice.
That's right. Let's go.
That's what it's for.
Intro, like,
I mean, what do you think you have? What do you think we're doing around here? We're not making tacos, but we're abogados advice. So we're here, we're from here, and we speak Spanish.
Yeah, man, that's great. I like that because, like you said, that culture can relate, and the people have that comfort and the sense of. I know you want to be a good lawyer, not just a
good person.
A good person.
It's hard
and
to
translate that into being an attorney, right?
It's hard to be a good lawyer, and it's hard to be an honest lawyer. It's not easy. You get a lot of power when you become an attorney because you're trusted more. You're automatically trusted. You're an officer of the court. Like a police officer is an officer of the streets and protect and serve. A lawyer is an officer of the court. You automatically are believed. What I say is taken as true unless proven otherwise.
Yeah.
So that's a privilege to be able to do that. That's the way I saw it. At least growing up, when I was growing up, I didn't see any Latino lawyers. You know, the most professional guy I remember coming over was this guy named Smiley. Great man, and Smiley worked for the packing house. And when we started having our own little trees and we were selling our food to the packing house, he'd come and they have to check because what people don't know is most of the fruit that you get literally comes from some guy who just grows it in his backyard or in some yard. Yeah. And they give it to a packing house, and the packing house kind of cleans it up, and they put it in a cold storage, and it goes to the store, and it's in your hand.
Yeah.
It's literally from farm to plate. But in order to do that, you have to have a coordination. There's logistics. And the guy that I saw that was professional was Smiley. He would come as a representative. He would wear a blue-collared shirt just like mine, short sleeve though, and he had like some slacks on. Sometimes he'd have dress shoes, sometimes he'd have tennis shoes, but he was always very respectful. Mm-hmm. And he'd come and he'd look at our trees and he'd say, okay, they're maturing at a certain rate. We'll probably have a harvest at a certain time. So he starts calculating that so that they can know how many people they're going to, in essence, my mom was going to go and do the packing house. How many women do they need there? How many forklift drivers? Big logistical thing. That was my first introduction to professionalism. Seeing this man come in here and represent this company. I thought, hey, maybe I can do that. Then I started thinking, hey, maybe I could be a lawyer, but there weren't any Latino lawyers when I grew up. So there wasn't something to aspire to say, hey, I can do it. So-and-so does it, and so-and-so taught me.
Yeah.
It was hard.
How did it feel to open your own office? How was that sense of getting your keys and opening that door and just being like, this is my space now. This is where I'm conducting my businesses, gaining my clients, my livelihood. This is what's going to put food on the table. This is what's going to get hit the ground running. It was scary.
Yeah. I was about 30, I think. 29. I'd already been a lawyer for 5 years, but it was time to go on my own, and I was scared, and I thought, I cannot believe that I think that somebody's going to give me money because I have any value. Like, what makes me think that I have any value to provide to anybody? I'm a kid. What do I know? Some of the people I'm talking to have way more experience in life. And then I started realizing I actually did have value. There's some knowledge that I had. And I couldn't just hide that. And so I could bring it out and have a conversation, which is the biggest part, to really learn about something from someone and say, all right, what's really the issue here? Because sometimes people come to me and say, this is the issue. And I'm like, no, it's not. You think that's the issue, and that's why you can't resolve it. Your whole legal issue is completely over here.
Yeah.
And it's a quick fix. And those are the best ones. Those are the best ones. When someone just comes in and I'm like, you have it on backwards. Solved.
Yeah. Did you reset that?
Did you reset it?
Turn it off?
Did you restart it, though? Did you wait 30 seconds?
Yeah. How do you determine that? Your time, do you put it all in like you mentioned earlier, you're that waiter, you're bringing that menu. This is what's on, this is a special. You're trying to be reasonable running someone on the clock. Nowadays our machines even have a timer.
Yeah.
The battery will show you how long you've been working on this person, almost like an odometer.
But what do you do when the clock is ticking?
Right. And what is it going to take for you to do that little extra for the genuine person that you are? Like you said, I want to be just a good person. What does it take with the knowledge that experience, and to just be like, I'm going to take it upon myself to do this little extra work, this little extra push for this person. How do you decide all that?
Your ethics at first.
Okay.
You have your own ethical rules within the lawyer system.
Right.
There's certain things that you have to do whether you like it or not. Certain things you have to say whether you like it or not because you're duty bound to do it. Mm-hmm. But then the rest of it is just kind of like I have to face my maker someday. And I don't have to explain that because I was a jackass in my life and I was being careless. Other people's lives were affected because I was now entrusted with their problems. I have to carry that. That's the reason why I say I cannot let something fall or fall apart.
Gotcha.
It's my problem now. I'm not just carrying somebody's problems. I've added to the problem because I wasn't prepared or I wasn't invested.
Yeah.
The one thing, though, it cuts the other way. There's disputes between clients and attorneys, too. It's not always all great. And a lot of the disputes, if I would say the majority of the disputes, and I'm not just saying for me, I'm just any attorney, in all honesty, is clients feeling that the attorneys aren't emotionally invested in the issue the way they are.
I can see that.
And the reality is you do not want your attorney emotionally invested in your issue the way you are. That's why you got an attorney.
You want this
bland, no salt. There's going to be flavor if necessary in front of a judge and in front of a jury. But if you want him to sit there and think about the problem, it's going to be bland. And he's not going to cry when you say devastating things to you. Mm-hmm. Because do you really want to sit there while your doctor's trying to go over your issues about whether or not you have survival rates and this and that, and he's there crying with you? You don't. I would think, doc, get it together if you're going to cut me open, bud. It's the same thing with your lawyer.
Stone cold killer.
Right. But you don't want your lawyer to be that way. You want your lawyer to say, I got it, I heard what you said. But this is devastating. It absolutely is. But we could lose. We absolutely can. But we're now in a position where our backs are against the wall, or your back against the wall. You have your truck in a mud. You're stuck in the mud. So we're going to have to take some drastic measures, like tugging on it with a tow machine or a Jeep, or we're going to throw some rocks underneath it, but we're going to put some spit and some elbow grease in it to get it out. It's not going to be as easy as when you got in, though. That's what we got to remember. So you can't have everyone being hysterical when there's things going on. Someone's got to be calm.
Someone's got to keep it together.
Yeah.
Someone has to keep it together.
It should be your lawyer. So if your lawyer is not emotionally invested and can give you information that you understand, and that is pretty much the bar. Not, oh, he hugged me and we cried it out.
Yeah.
Did he also charge you more money while he was hugging you? Because that's
not a representation anymore.
No, he has 99 other clients.
Yeah.
And he can't. Right. He can't be emotionally invested.
Do you feel like you operate good, or better, I should say, being with most cases put up against the wall, like you said? You brought up that statement, and we were talking about idling with anxiety, and you're running a lot of cases, or a lot of your clients, they come at you with already no ammo, or they already unloaded, guns blazing, but now they're out, and you're just you're their, Obi-Wan.
So when you pick a jury, they bring in about 100 people of the community, and they're all sitting there, and they all hear all the information. 20-30% of them, hands down, will always, he looks guilty already.
Wow.
The defendant already looks guilty. And not only does the defendant look guilty, but, man, his attorney's starting to look a little guilty, too. He's sitting real close to him. Yeah, I mean,
he's in on it.
I mean, they both look like they probably did it together. I don't know why haven't they looked into his attorney at this point. I know that. I feel it. Like we were talking earlier about when I started to feel that anxiousness.
Right.
In jury selection, you don't choose jurors. You don't say, I like this one or I like that one. You say, I don't like this one or I don't like that one. The way the thought process was. Not that you don't like as a person.
Right.
But I don't like them to be on this panel. So does the other attorney. And what you end up doing is getting all these negatives that cancel out until everyone stops taking shots and says, all right, we're left with a panel. Mm-hmm. But you're not left with a panel that both chose. It's the panel that both chose to not remove. Mm. There's a big difference. So what am I doing in essence is looking at everybody who looked at me and says, even the attorney looks like trash. Whoa. Okay, well, I don't think you can stick around for this one because you're already being biased.
Yeah.
All we're doing is sitting here. I had a jury trial where we were selecting a panel, And they all walked in and says, the defendant looked guilty. And the judge says, that's not the defendant. The defendant's over here. like, well, that one looks guilty too.
Yeah, good intuition, bro.
Hold on a second. You're just pointing at people that you thought.
Crazy, huh?
Right. So now I'm like, okay.
Dude, they're just picking off the guy that's bringing in the water into the courtroom. He's like, he's guilty.
Right.
He did it.
So the only way, so what you're left with is jurors that are emotionally removed. Yeah. They're not as, he's guilty, or the system's horrible, cops and government's bad. Those people get removed automatically. I shouldn't be saying that because now people are going to want to get this. Right? But everyone else who's left in the middle are kind of, unbiased. They're the independent voter. They're open-minded. But now they're expecting a bit of a show. Now they're kind of expecting to be woken up and getting some stuff going there. And I didn't remove them from the panel, but they're still looking at me like, you're still a little suspicious, sir, because you are still sitting next to Mr. Accused.
Yeah.
So there has to be some type of connection, and it has to be a quick dating, a speed dating connection. And what ends up happening is the only way to really get emotion sometimes is for real things to happen, not fake emotion. Because you've seen that in a courtroom,
right.
where someone starts, "Oh, this is the most this is a tragic event. It's a travesty. What's happened here?" And the person's accused of driving on a suspended license. Like, that's not really a travesty, right? People are just adding emotions to something. But when something's very real, and there's an attack coming, or maybe even the attorney, that's when I start to, hey, wait a minute. Hey, their fair is fair, but now if we're going out and we're all just going to drive wherever we want and we're not going to stay in the lane, me too. Yeah. Let's get into this within legal bounds, within ethical bounds, not doing anything that's inappropriate or illegal. But you know what? You want to spice it up? Let's spice it up. Let's really talk about what's happening. Let's ask some questions. The uncomfortable questions. There's some very uncomfortable questions. And there's certain cases where people say it's easy to accuse somebody of something, and we're all okay with how horrible it is that accusation is. You did this wrong, and we're going to accuse you of it. Okay, well, let me defend what really happened. That's a disgusting explanation. It doesn't matter. The explanation is the explanation.
Is that kind of like a Hail Mary, too? People already have like a certain mindset, right? They're already sulking in this, and you're just kind of like, I need to bring it back. I'm going to throw this Hail Mary and be like, all right, let's get real. You want to go there?
It's a Hail Mary in the sense of you're looking at it like, wow, that one big shot can really just shift it. Yeah. But it's not a Hail Mary in the sense of it's a prayer.
I got you.
Because sometimes, somebody could say, this is a can. This is a white can. But you could be completely wrong. You know how optics work. Sometimes this may very well be that to you, right? And in order for me to really show you that this is a can, it's just to knock the whole table over for you to really see what's on here. And that's a real drastic.
So it's like a blind side, I guess. Right?
It's like, you know what? I hate being slow played. I hate when I'm dealing with somebody on customer support and they're like, oh, well, sir, we can help you with this or we can help you with that. You know that they're inevitably not going to help you with anything, and they're just kind of going through the process of trying to help you.
Yeah.
Same here. I don't want someone to kind of pretend like, hey, this is what we're talking about. This is a crime, but we can only talk about the crime and then that's it. If we're going to talk about it, let's talk about it. If we're all going to sit at the Thanksgiving dinner and Aunt Susie's going to bring up that you forgot to take out the trash one day, blah, blah, blah.
Susie?
All right, Susie. What were you doing with Uncle Tom?
Let's talk about last night.
At the roller rink, right. Now we're really going to get it. Hey, how
why
are you going there? Well, hold on a second.
I got you.
If you're gonna sling mud at my client and say that my client is dirty, what else is dirty?
Yeah.
Right? It's that old Caesar saying, Pontius Pilate, right? Don't come in with unclean hands.
Right.
But don't come in with unclean hands and start saying all these things about me and all this bad stuff. We're going to defend ourselves, and it may not be pretty. And that's when it gets ugly. That's when people say, look at how disgusting that defense attorney is. They're talking about this and that. But the only people saying that are the people that are not in the courtroom.
Right.
100% of the time, the jury respects it. There's things that you have to say on the record that you do not say in real life. Certain words that are not acceptable socially, you have to say them in the courtroom. Certain things that you cannot talk about, certain acts you can't talk about, in a courtroom you have to talk about. You cannot pretend. You cannot fudge it. You cannot put a censor over it. This is real.
Yeah. Don't fake the funk.
Real.
Yeah. What case has stood out to you from that you would have loved to have been a part of, or one that because you mentioned earlier that you were watching as inspiration, you watch a lot of tape from different cases or attorneys. Which one would you have just loved to have been a part of, or
like a case that I was not a part of?
That, or which one in history? Like the Johnny Depp, Murdoch, whatever.
O.J. Simpson.
O.J. Simpson?
Not because of the excitement of it or so much law came out of the O.J. Simpson case. The strategy of how you investigate a case, how you don't investigate a case, DNA.
Gotcha.
A lot of training seminars are taught based on that case. Like, those lawyers were literally the dream team of lawyers who came together and put on an amazing defense. So I would have liked to have been part of that, but from a nerd standpoint.
Yeah.
That would have been from the apprentice learning standpoint.
Kind of like the self...
Not as an adult.
Yeah.
I think my anxiety would have been through the roof. I couldn't deal with Kardashians and all that.
You were one of the only... I mean, the first time I ever seen an attorney get out of the courtroom and slap on J's. That was pretty gangster. I was like, and I tell people, I'm like, dude,
court shoes are uncomfortable.
Court shoes,
they're bad for your
he gets
posture.
out, boom, puts on his J's, dude. I was like, that
Baseball
was cool.
cap.
That was funny. Speak advice to all you've been through, and knowing that when you knew now, what would you tell that person if they come up to you? It doesn't have to be with law or anything. It would just be with life, things that you've learned, because you've been through the grind, you've been through the mud to get to where you are, and you've seen the payoffs, but you've also seen the struggles and the mental struggles and the things that come with it. But what would you share as far as advice for that person, in that personal opinion?
This may be my own.
Yeah.
It's probably what I would tell myself.
Okay.
So it's maybe not for everybody. When I was younger, nobody really gives a shit about you. Nobody really cares. Like, that's what I would tell myself. Yeah. Nobody really cares. Like, nobody really wakes up and says, today I'm gonna screw Omar over at work.
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna screw him over. Maybe it happens here or there, but it doesn't happen as much as you think. So I would tell little Alex, I would say, calm down.
Get out of your head.
Get out of your head.
Yeah.
These people aren't after you. They don't even know who you are.
You feel like that was,
they can't care less.
Was that a cloud over you a lot?
It probably still is, and that's the thing. That's probably what I work on the most, which is assuming that everything that went bad was deliberately intended towards me. It was directed at me.
You.
It was, and then I'm losing sight of it, and I'm going off on some tangent. But that's not a reality. It's a reality I created. Mm-hmm. So just get out of your own head. Nobody cares about you. You're not unique. You are not special. You are not one in a million. You are just a person.
Yeah.
But if you lead a life where you're just saying, you know what, I want to go to law school, then do that. Right. I want to be a lawyer, then do that. I want a tattoo, then do that. I want to have my own spot. You want to do a podcast? Well, then do that. Mm-hmm. Well, but what are people going to think? I don't know. Who cares? Yeah. They don't even know if they know you. Who knows?
Yeah.
Just doesn't matter. Just get out of your own head. Don't let people worry about you. Worry about yourself.
Right.
Don't try to fix everybody.
Get yourself going.
Get yourself going.
Yeah.
And it may or may not work. Who knows? But if
you won't know until you
try. If you don't care about what other people think, then it really doesn't really matter.
Right.
It really, really, really doesn't matter, because you're just doing your own thing.
Yeah.
And you're still having fun. Hopefully.
Have a motive, right?
Have a purpose.
A purpose.
Have a purpose. Have a motive.
Yeah.
Have a plan that you're willing to change over and over again. Don't worry about using the eraser and making mistakes. Just cross it out. Leave the mistake there. Cross it out. Make mistakes. Actually, that's what I would tell myself as well. Make mistakes. Make as many as you can. The more mistakes you make, you can get them out of the way. Like in that rough workout in the morning. You just get it out of the way and not say, oh, shit, I made a mistake. Good. Make another one. But learn from that one.
Yeah.
Learn from that one. Make a mistake and learn from that one. Like when I tell my kids how to ride their bike, they're like, am I going to fall? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, am I going to get hurt? I'm like, oh, yeah. Is it going to hurt? Oh, yeah. Then what are we doing this for? Because eventually it stops hurting.
That's how you learn. Yeah.
That's it.
It's solid. Love that advice, man. Coming from my standby attorney.
Anytime, brother. I love you, brother.
I appreciate you, brother.
Love you, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh,